once again to Getting to the Top, where I interview transformational leaders about their leadership journey in hopes of inspiring you either on your own journey or inspire you to take up leadership as your next challenge. Today, I have the great honor of having my very good friend and sometimes partner in crime, Miss Georgina Terry. I'm gonna ask all of you to hold on to your chairs because I feel like whenever Georgina and I get together, it's an absolute scandal. And we tend to, like, the universe likes to see the scandal because we run into each other accidentally all over the place all the time. And we always have an unbridled blast.
Yes.
So today I asked Georgina to introduce herself, the phenomenal Georgina. And I think I'm going to try and restrain myself from like coming in and adding some bits because you will see Georgina is an absolute phenomenon. Georgina.
Racquel, thanks for having me. I feel extremely honored to be part of the lineup of the women leaders you've had on your podcast. I think what you're doing is amazing. It's wonderful to hear from all different types of women. So I love that. And we can learn from each other. So I'm really glad and honored that you've asked me to be with you today.
Yay. So tell us about, you are currently, who you are.
Okay, so who am I? So Georgina Terry, Cohen, married recently, so I'll throw that in. So in terms of, I'm an accountant by profession. Now I have my own business called Business and People Development Associates, which is a business and people development organization. I've had the company now for 15 years.
Wow.
It's been an amazing journey. Anyone who's an entrepreneur knows this is not for the faint-hearted. I have a great team that supports me. You really cannot do much in life by yourself. And if you think you can, you eventually learn that you can't. So I have a great team that supports me. I am originally from London, South London girl, proud to be one. But I've now lived in Trinidad for, this year makes 21 years.
Wow.
It's gone in a heartbeat. I came here on assignment as an expat for 2 weeks, and I'm here 21 years later.
Oh my goodness. So
yes.
two weeks almost up.
Yes, 2 weeks almost up.
So I have to tell you, so I met Georgina as when I was heading up ACCA Europe and Americas, and I remember we were trying to talk about coaching and facilitation, and they said, oh my gosh, you have to meet Georgina, she's really amazing at it. And so she came in and absolutely blew everyone away, and the feedback was spectacular. I mean, like, I learned more about coaching in that one conversation that we had, that first conversation we had. And I said, oh my gosh, this is my friend, because I have to like be around her to learn from her. And then I remember, I won't say specifically when, but I was in a coaching session with a lead coach for a Fortune 500, actually Fortune 100 company. And she was really good. This coach was really, really, really good. Georgina was better. And I was just like, listen, we have access to talent upon talent upon talent. And the sky's the limit. She's a TEDx talker. She's an InfoDev certified facilitator. I feel like of all the people that I expected to be shy, I did not expect you to be shy. And yet somehow she's like, oh, I've run this business for 15 years. Come, tell them the things.
All right. So, I'm a TEDx speaker. I'm a qualified accountant, coach, best-selling author.
Thank you.
Trainer and facilitator, triathlete.
Yes.
There's a whole host of things. And I've worked in several countries around the globe: Africa, Jamaica, Trinidad, the UK, the States, leading transformational change. both for organizations and also working with leaders to support them in their growth to be more effective leaders, and also working with women entrepreneurs to help them achieve and support them to achieve the goals they've set for this entrepreneurial journey. So really looking at transformation, working with organizations, individuals, career professionals to create their own transformation.
Beautiful.
So to make the world a better place.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. And I think that's, a part of what, in my view, makes you so spectacular at what you do. It is that it comes from a place of service. It comes from a place of not, well, I want to be the greatest of all time because of the accolades. I want to be the greatest because my work is in service to others. And I feel like that not only shows in the way that you do what you do, but it also proves out like in the impact that you have. So I'm like a mentor on Georgina's program where she's, and everybody, all of the mentors, right? And she's got this amazing sort of list of mentors who are working with these entrepreneurs. And all of them are like, well, why are you here? Because Georgina asked me. Just, when Georgina asks, you just say yes. So everybody's like, yeah, Georgina asked. And of course, I was going to say yes. What is this about? What are we doing?
And the funny thing with that, Racquel, when everyone was saying that on the call, and we were saying, why are you here? Everyone was saying, well, Georgina asked me. First, I was thinking, that's not good enough reason in my head. I was like, that's not good. And you know what? As I listened, it changed to an appreciation. Wow. People have joined this and are volunteering their time. Because this is not just about joining and just showing up. This is volunteering the time and experience and with other women entrepreneurs to help them on their journey. And I'm like, wow, that's really powerful.
Yeah. That you
know,
that
so
kind of,
the whole feeling changed. Like, find something better than that to say, please. So like, no, I feel honored that people are saying, yeah, you're involved in something. It's good to put my name to it. Yes, I'm there. You asked. So,
yeah.
Turn to humility.
You command an audience. You command an audience. And it's funny when you were doing the introduction and you were talking about that I interview women leaders. I never say that. I never say that I'm interviewing women leaders. I am interviewing transformational leaders. Now, so far they just happen to be women.
Nice.
But oftentimes you find all of these interviews and men are being interviewed and it's like nobody notices that it's all men.
Good point.
And I'm like, yeah, it just, maybe
thanks for catching me in that. Thank you for catching me in that.
So it's not like transformational leaders who happen to be women. It's transformational leaders.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
No problem. It is just about highlighting extraordinary people that I've met on my journey and those that I'm being introduced to, which is really nice as well, because through this opportunity, I'm getting to meet a lot of new transformational leaders. So tell us about the journey. How did you grow into this phenomenon? And I'm doing it just to make you blush.
All right. So I have to first, say where it started with my parents. My parents really believed in, having a strong education and really believing in you could do whatever's possible. So from a very young age, they told myself and my 3 siblings, I have 2 sisters and a brother, that we could be anything we wanted in this world. And the only limitation was in our minds.
Nice.
Now, my mother's from Trinidad, my father's from Sierra Leone. They met in London and married there.
What were they doing there? What were they like? What were their jobs?
My mom was a midwife and then became a health visitor. And then my father was a biochemist.
Oh, wow.
So they both, were very, thought education was really important, and not just education. You needed to excel, right? In our household, I remember one saying, oh, I came second. And my dad was like, well, who came first? I'm like, oh gosh. Why are you celebrating there, kind of thing,
Oh no.
But so my parents really focused on having a standard, a high standard. Like my mum was one of the first Black midwives in the UK and one of the most prestigious hospitals, and so it was really for them was around like I said, the only limitation is in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So there we were, all four of us, being told so young that you didn't contest it. So, the only limitation is in my mind.
Yeah.
It's with me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, not in someone else's hands. And so we've all grown up with that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And at the age of 16, I was at a careers fair and I met a lady and she started telling me about accountancy. And so I asked her a bit more about it. And she told me you didn't have to be good at maths, which was great because I'm not a mathematician. I'm not scared of numbers, but I don't like stats. And she told me then that, you know, you could boom or bust. You would have work. You could have work in any industry.
Mm.
You could also work for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, there wasn't very many women in finance. And I was like, I can do whatever I want.
There you go.
So that was enough
My
for me.
parents said so.
Yes. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. And so at the age of 16, I decided, and I use that word intentionally, I decided I would become an accountant. Mm-hmm. Because my parents taught us about, you know, the limitation is your mind. So it's like, you decide what you want and you go after it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't an easy journey. I didn't get my A levels first time around. I had to resit them. But because I had the vision of knowing that I would be an accountant, I kept going.
Yeah.
Now, if I didn't have that vision, I might have gone a different path. I might have left school, I don't think my parents would let me leave school, but, you know, have a different pathway, right? Because what they instilled in us with, you know, your limitation is in your mind, which means that you have a vision for yourself.
Right.
You have a vision for your life, and then you're going after it.
Yeah.
So I did that, did my A levels, went to university, did business and finance because I knew I was going to be an accountant. I did business and finance, right? And then I was blessed to work for The Economist.
Oh, nice.
So as we call it, the Economist newspaper, not magazine. I worked there, and I qualified as an ACCA accountant. So I was qualified by the age of 25. Nice. And then from there, started to look for another job, because at that time, meeting 25, a lot of my peers were now getting married and they were settled at that position.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't anywhere to go to. I would have to kind of wait for a couple of years. And I'm not really a waiting kind of person. And so I decided to move on from The Economist. Now, it took about 6 months or so to move. And I'll share with you that was one of the times when I had some challenges.
Okay.
In terms of, I had a really great CV, right? A really great resume, really great experience. I was managing, you know, a huge budget as an accountant at The Economist. And then I started looking for jobs, getting interviews. But then all of a sudden I was being told, oh, you're too young. Now, my age being on my CV. And then one day I got an call from a recruiter saying, and I was told at the interview I'd get to the second round. Yeah. And I got a call the next day to say, oh, sorry, they've said you're too young. Now, I knew what that meant because I met the managing director during the interview, and he was very surprised to see that Georgina Terry looked like me. Right? Yes. And physically jumped when he saw me. Ooh. And at that time, I remember sitting in the office and saying to myself, I know the reason that I haven't got through is because of the color of my skin. Yeah. And at that point, being so disheartened, like this is something I cannot change, and don't want to change. Exactly. But having no control over that. Yeah. And I have to be honest, for the first time in my life, feeling not knowing what to do, like that thing that my parents taught me somehow was a bit in question. Was being challenged, yeah. And that's like a foundational belief. And you're just like, what do you do? Yeah. And I can't remember how long, it was maybe like a month or so. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going till I find someone who sees me, Georgina Terry.
Yep.
Who sees what I bring to the table and wants that. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
And I remember going for an interview, which was then Cooper's, which is now PwC.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at the job and I was like, oh, I can do more than this job. but I'll go and use it as practice.
I'll settle.
No, it was like, I'll use it as practice.
Even better.
Interview as practice. When I look back at myself now, it's like, who were you?
You were you. No, I love it.
So in the interview, I'm there with the interviewer. His name was Ian. And so we're talking and he says, Georgina, you can do more than this, can't you? And I'm like, well, yeah. He goes, so he gets like the job description and then turns it over onto the blank side. And he says, okay, what can you do?
Nice.
So we start talking and then he says, okay, do you want this job? And so I look at it, I said, that's not a real job. We just made that up.
Now you're selling fairy dust.
I'm like, and then I hear this, I said, is there enough work in that job? Right? So he says, okay, I've created this job. This is what I believe you can do. This is also what I need.
Wow.
He said, do you want this job? And I said, can I think about it?
Wow. Wow. I love it. Oh my gosh. And I thought, honestly, that I couldn't be a bigger fan. Oh my gosh. I will think about it, sir. Having a hard time finding a job. People are saying to me, I'm too young. And then you write my dream job about all the stuff I can do. And I'm going to think about it. What was going through your head at that time? Like what?
Because I wasn't sure if it was really a job. You just made it up.
Oh, I thought you just had the art of playing poker. Like you guys played poker in your family really early.
No, this was real. I was like, I want to come. I want to make a difference. I want to, I really want to come and do this.
Yeah.
And you've just made this. I don't want to come and be twiddling my fingers because you just made something up.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of it. He said to me, this was a Wednesday. He said, can you give me an answer by Friday?
Yeah.
He said, but only take this job if you really want it. I've created this for you.
Yeah.
He said, if you don't, I'm not going to hire anybody, but I don't want you to come, do it, and then leave.
Yeah.
Right. And he also said to me, you can be my number 2.
Wow.
He said, but you're going to have to, he goes, I can see that in you, but you're going to have to convince everyone else that you can be my number 2.
Wow.
All right. He said, because there's someone else who thinks they can be. He said, but you have to come in and prove that you can be.
Yeah.
So I went back on the train and I wrote pros and cons of taking this job. And I said, okay, I'll take it. And it was one of the best decisions of my life because Ian saw me.
Yeah.
He saw me in my completeness. He even saw things in me I think I didn't even see in myself.
Wow.
And gave me that opportunity.
Love it.
And I became his number 2.
Fabulous.
Over time, and then from there, I then decided I wanted to move into the world of consulting.
Mm-hmm.
The firm was now.
So what were you doing before? You were just.
I was in pure finance.
Okay.
Internal finance.
Okay.
For PwC. I'm managing a budget of about 900 million.
Wow.
So I then decided I wanted to move into the world of consulting. I've met quite a few consultants, and I was like, I'm not quite sure what they do, but it's quite varied.
Yeah.
And I like to be different. I hadn't met an accountant who was also a consultant.
Right. Yeah.
I liked that mix.
Yeah.
And I'll also say I wasn't a stereotypical accountant in terms of, no disrespect to my fellow accountants.
Yeah, no, but you're more fun. I mean, I'll challenge anybody who says that. You're more fun.
But I've always wanted to know why people chose the careers that they did.
Sure.
What was important to them. So even my team, I would ask them what their career goals were, why they were in the finance team, what they wanted to do. And if they were studying, I always used to say, when it comes to go to school, leave work.
Yeah.
I don't ever want you to tell me you didn't qualify or didn't study because you were working. Go to studies. If you have to come back after, fair enough.
Yeah.
But please make sure you put your studies first, because that's transferable. That goes with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's how you get to the next level.
Exactly. So
that's
I
the thing
always
that's
wanted that.
not going to hold you back.
So I always wanted to make sure. And so when I got this opportunity, well, not an opportunity, I decided I wanted to leave PwC and go into consulting, something varied and different. I started to apply for jobs, and I decided that I wanted to work abroad. Okay. I'd gone from university to career, and a lot of friends had gone backpacking around Europe and stuff like that. And I was like, I'd like to work abroad, but I don't want to come off the career ladder. I've worked hard to get here. I don't want to go and bartend now. I'm too far up the ladder. And as God would have it, I applied for this role in consulting. Didn't really understand half of it. And I say to my own coaching clients when they're applying for jobs, oh, I'm not sure about this. I said, let them reject you. Don't reject yourself.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And you know, we're going to talk about ambition after this, because this is the conversation that you and I had, that I said, you know, was such a surprise in having the conversation with all of these extraordinary leaders, in that all of them were like, oh, well, someone else saw it and picked me out.
I saw that in your interview.
Yeah. And I was just like, you know, am I the only one who was like, listen, I have a plan, and it may not be a straight line, and it certainly has not been, but I know that there is somewhere that I'm going on this journey. And so it's important. And I mean, and I've been, you know, I'm constantly reading on leadership, and I understand, like, especially now I'm reading From Good to Great and about level 5 leadership, and you know how you know the self-effacing leader, and I have some different theories about that, but I feel like at least start with a hope, with a plan, with an ambition, with a goal, you know, and not out of default, or because somebody else says you should. Know that you know, if you cannot complain about anything unless you're willing to get into the fray.
Exactly.
You cannot talk about leadership of the country, leadership of an organization that you're in, leadership of the sports club you belong to, unless you're willing to step up.
Yeah, totally agree. And there was the reason I went ooh when you said it is because I have a phrase that I use, and I say that I support individuals to create the vision of success by desire and design, and not by default. It's intentional. It's intentional.
Say that again.
By desire, supporting you to create your vision of success by desire and design. So you've got to desire it first, right? You've got to have the desire being the vision. Then you've got to design it. So what's the plan? By desire and design, not by default.
Yeah.
So you don't fall into it. Because that's one of the things I find, Racquel, on this journey, and especially in the journey as a coach, when people are feeling unfulfilled, because that's one of the things that people, a lot of people are unfulfilled in the roles that they have, work roles that they have, because they fell into it.
Yes.
And by falling into it, there's a in the main, so some people will say that this does not occur relate to them. So I'm not make a sweeping generalization.
Right. Not categorical.
But in my experience,
when
I'm coaching leaders and we're talking about their journeys, a lot of them have gone into it because they've got this opportunity, or this came up, or it was just the next thing, and they kind of fell into it.
Right.
And you find that then as they go, there's this lack of fulfillment in the role. They're yearning for something. And if you can take the time to really understand, what do you want?
And what drives you? What wakes you up in the morning? What gets you excited?
Exactly. Yeah. And then go. And the thing is, you have to then believe it.
Yeah.
Because some people say it and you don't believe it. And then they work out, well, why is it not happening? Well, if you don't believe it.
No, how you talk to yourself, it's very important. Yeah, because you have already convinced the universe that you don't want it. If you are in your mind thinking, oh, well, here are all the reasons why it won't happen. And I'm like, listen, you only need one reason why it will happen. There's so many barriers, but don't think about the barriers. Think about the one sliver that you need to move through.
Yeah. I want to give you one thing there. This is, and I have said this, and I'm saying it on purpose because it linked to you and Richard Branson, right?
Yes. Oh, this is funny.
Right? So this bit about really believing in something. So when I was studying ACCA, the accountancy exams, they used in marketing, they used Virgin as an exemplar, right, of the companies. And I was like, right, I'm going to meet Richard Branson. Right now, I said, I'm going to meet him. No, I wish I could, or maybe one day. I'm going to meet him. So one day I'm in a taxi in London. I look across, he's in the taxi. I'm like, well, that's not meeting him. That's seeing him.
Yeah. You're like, that's not it. Next.
That's not it. So you got to be specific. And that's the other thing. You got to be specific.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Specificity. And you know what? Like, so many things happen to people where it's specific, but you kind of don't think about it. Yeah. You don't think about all of the permutations. Like, I think it was in like Eat, Pray, Love. The guy was talking about, he kept praying for an open heart and he ended up with open heart surgery. And so it's like, not what I meant.
Exactly. So specific. I'm going to, meet him.
Right.
So then I moved to Trinidad, and then I'm looking at the papers, and Virgin is flying from Tobago. So I call my sister, my best friend, say, oh, Richard's moving closer to me, because anyone who knew me knew I said I'm going to meet him.
Yes. Then
a few years later, a friend goes to one of the fets here, and they say, oh, guess who we saw? And I was like, who? They're like, Richard Branson. I was like, no. They're like, he was on the balcony. I was like, oh, that's okay. He was on the balcony.
Unless it's a Rapunzel moment, we're still not meeting him like that.
Yeah, it doesn't count. And then I was writing something about things that I had achieved. And I was like, oh, I don't want to just meet him. I want to meet him and talk to him, right? So I made a change. And then I was at the Tobago Jazz with a friend. And I'm standing there, and I look up. And I'm like, oh my God. And there is Richard Branson. And I walk up to him and I say, hello, Richard. I've been waiting to meet you for 13 years.
Wow.
And he doesn't say, go away, stalker, because that's what people say. He was really gracious. He said, oh, you're not from here. We had a little talk. And then eventually groupies came, because he was by himself. It's like I created that. It's like I felt I created that, right?
Yes. No, I felt like you did.
And I walked away and I was like, oh God, I don't have my camera. And that was before smartphones, right?
Yeah.
And I said, you never asked for a picture. But I got what I asked for. So the reason I share that story is the one, I love to tell that. But more importantly, I think that's a real example of when you truly believe that something is possible.
Yeah.
It does happen. I believe with my entire being it was going to happen. Now, maybe I should have put a year on it, so I'm gonna have to wait 13 years. So there's been perfected over time.
Right.
That's a true example of, if you truly believe something's going to happen, you'll see the opportunities and you'll take them. But the universe itself will also guide you.
Yes,
so
of course. It conspires to help you. Yeah. The power of your subconscious mind is incredible, both the book as well as the power of your subconscious mind. If you actually believe it, it will happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And like your parents, I mean, did you ever ask them, like, how did they come up with that to be a guiding force for you and your siblings? Because I find it so revolutionary that, however many years ago that they were like, yeah, the only limitation, these were immigrants who were in a country that weren't theirs, that wasn't necessarily very friendly. And somehow they inspired this next generation of leaders with an absolute truth.
Yeah. And I think that's because that was their journey. So yeah, they had trials and tribulations going along, but they had a vision.
Yeah.
And they were both unstoppable.
Nice.
And they transferred that to us. Nice. And you know what? Sometimes I listen to other people's stories about families and what their parents have said. And I think our parents were honest with us. Yeah, okay, you're black children in the UK.
Yeah.
but don't make that be a burden. Don't carry it as a chip.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. Yeah. What do you want to do?
Yeah. What do you want to be? Yeah.
Just get on with it. Just get on with it. And I'm so glad and grateful to them for that.
Yeah.
I really am. It's the
Me
most
too.
amazing gift.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And that's what's inspired. That is really what sits behind me wanting to, or being a coach.
Yeah.
Because it's about supporting my clients to think about what is truly possible and get out of their own way.
Yeah.
And then walk by their side while they're doing it. And if they sometimes falter, being that guiding light to them. Remember, you said you wanted this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wanted this. Here we come on. Let's doesn't okay. Fall. You've fallen down, but dust off. Let's keep going, because we can achieve what you said you want to achieve.
Yeah. I
It's so
absolutely love
important.
it. I absolutely love it. So you have this phenomenal journey. You're into consulting. So how do you get to the next stage now? How do you decide that? Well, let's see what's the next stage before you decide, listen, I want to shed the security of a job. I want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. No, I always thought that I would stay in corporate. You know, I was a real corporate person, right? Yeah. And then I moved to Trinidad, moved to consulting and coaching, and, you know, was here. I got an opportunity to work in Africa, work in Jamaica, work in different places.
Where in Africa?
And then after, Equatorial Guinea.
Nice.
Yeah, so in oil and gas, because it was predominantly oil and gas at the time.
Okay.
And some great experiences, amazing experiences. And then after 6 years of being with the company and working as an expat here and abroad, I decided I wanted to move on from the company.
Mm-hmm.
It was a small consultancy that brought me to Trinidad, and I wanted to leave the company, but wasn't ready to go home yet.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so what to do? So I to be honest, I started looking for a job here in Trinidad.
Okay.
But while I was an expat, I was earning pounds living in Trinidad. And when I was looking for jobs, the salaries were kind of what I started off when I first started in finance. And I thought, can't do that. And so I thought, well, okay, I could start my own thing. Yeah. It took me about a year to really get comfortable with that. Like the security, you know, I'm an accountant by profession. So, my gosh, what if it doesn't work out? All the risk factors. And then I spoke to a couple of people about it. And then I thought, you know what? What's the worst that could happen? Yeah. That I do it and it doesn't work. I can always go back to finance. Yeah. I've got a strong foundation. And I said, okay, let's do it. Yeah. And that was 15 years ago. Now, I'm going to ask you something incredibly controversial, because I've been interviewing a lot of entrepreneurs, and not by intention. So when I started out on this journey, I said, you know what, this is primarily to interview women at the top of the corporate ladder, because women who sort of hit that glass ceiling tend to go off into entrepreneurship, which is amazing. I mean, I think entrepreneurship is phenomenal, and it's a great way to grow and create businesses. But until we get a critical mass or proper diversity in the hierarchy of big business, we're not going to achieve the goals that we have, because it will take time to build some of these entrepreneurial efforts into the household names that we know, whether locally, regionally, or internationally, right? It's just going to take time. Yep. And so, you know, I want to ask you about, do we think that there are that women are leaving corporate prematurely? Because again, entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. So what do you think are some of the factors that sort of cause women to leave, or diverse leaders to leave corporate, when we need more diversity at the top of corporate? So more diverse leaders are leaving before we actually get that diversity that we're seeking. Yeah, and I think I would say it depends why you leave. Okay. Right. So, and I'll start with myself first. I didn't leave because I thought I'd hit a glass ceiling. Okay. I have to be honest, I say, but I don't believe there is one over me. If you want to put it over yourself, I'm sorry, you want to ask controversial? Wow. Right? Yes. If I'm going to go with the premise that the only limitation is in my mind, then I can't believe I have a glass ceiling, because then I've just put it over there, right? Okay. So Have I hit challenges? Yeah, I just thought it was a challenge and just kept moving.
Right.
So come back to your question. I think it depends why you leave. So I left because I didn't want to go home yet. I couldn't find anything I wanted in Trinidad. So I said, okay, let me start this. Some people leave because they believe they've hit a glass ceiling and then they want to do something themselves. And I think you've got to decide what works for you.
Yeah.
You know, yes, there's one can say, okay, you should champion the cause, but the cause has to be a cause that you're committed to, and not doing it just because you think you should. Because I think then there's a disconnect.
Sure.
There's a disconnect. Well, I think I should, but really I think I should be doing this. So if that's what you know and that's what you believe, and you want to stay in corporate to make a difference, to be there, then do that.
Yeah.
But if your life or things you desire are something else, you do that. Now, in terms of, I agree with you that it's going to take a while for small businesses to get bigger if women have gone on their own.
Right.
But this is the thing. So when you think of women's economic empowerment, we talk a lot about it's a man's world. Men run things, blah, 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 right? But we also look at the women are the biggest consumers. Yeah. So if we are intentional about where we spend our money, because if it's a man's world, it's a man's world because there's more money in it. There's more things changing hands in so-called man's world. Right. But we are the ones spending as women.
Yeah, we're voting with our dollars.
About 80 or 90% of the spending power is ours.
Yeah.
So what if we became intentional?
Yeah.
Of where we spent it.
Yeah. So intentional and informed.
Exactly. So if we said, okay, well, who runs this business? Who's at the head of this business? Mm-hmm. So we'd have to maybe take a bit more time.
Who's on the board of this company?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That we say we have no, a lot of times you hear women say we haven't got the power. I'm going to say we have the power.
Yeah.
We gave it up, but we don't realize the power we have.
Exactly.
Now, if we want to take that back, we take it back in how we spend. We take it back in how we consume. Because at the end of the day, the color and the how business operates is money. Mm-hmm. So if you can channel your money and your spending into a business that has women on the board or women who own a business gets big enough, they don't care who's at the head of it.
Yeah.
So if we support ourselves in that way, then that's how we make a difference. Whether we're in or out is how we choose to consume. And that's how we can make a huge impact in women's economic empowerment.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. But I'm going to ask you one last controversial question, because you're saying that you don't believe in a glass ceiling. And I think the glass ceiling is a real thing, as is the sticky floor. And I think that it is, you know, I know that when Sheryl Sandberg wrote Lean In, she got a lot of blowback. But I'm like, no, there are challenges, but we also have tools to get around those challenges. And unless we are clear about what the challenges are, we're not going to understand how to navigate them. So I believe there's a glass ceiling, but I also believe that it's glass. It's not steel. You know what I mean? So shatter it and move on. But there is absolutely, without question, a gender pay gap. And we have to, as women, we have to, if there's only one thing you ever do is negotiate every single time. They offer you twice what you asked for. I'll think about it and then negotiate. Because if there's only one difference that we make, then that ability to negotiate will help us to level up and to keep pressuring that pay gap.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And I think that's where it comes to what we believe we bring to the table, what we put in as our self-worth. You know, one of the jobs I went through in the past, I remember saying the salary that I wanted, right? And it wasn't even based on what I was earning before.
Yeah.
Because I knew what I was earning before was low. So I went in at this level.
Yeah.
And I got it. Now, I would say to people, ask for what you want. Don't try and second guess what you think that person is going to offer you.
I'll one caveat to that. Don't ask for what you want. Ask for a little bit more than you want, so that if they're negotiating, you end up where you want to be.
Okay. So difference is my want is there. My want is at the
No, but good. But still, just tack on a 5 to 10%
negotiation point.
So that you have, right, because people don't ever offer you their full budget. Almost never do they come in and offer you the full budget for a role. But I will tell you, they negotiate differently with women, you know. I will not, I have seen it, and I'm just like, and it's so ridiculous to do that to somebody coming in at the head of the company, because you'll have access to the records.
Yes.
So eventually you'll know, but they negotiate differently with women. But I think that absolutely ask for just a little bit more than you want. And that way your negotiated position is of value to you.
Yeah. And I think the other point I'll add to that is, a lot of times when I'm working with clients or when they're looking for new roles, is they try and guess what the company will offer. And I say, don't worry about that. What is it you want?
Yeah.
You know, coming from that point of view, not go, well, I don't think, so therefore I'm going to offer a little bit less. Don't do that.
No.
Having a conversation about it. I remember once going to, and they asked me what I wanted, and the CEO said, well, I don't even earn that.
It's like, well, you should.
And he said, give me another number. So I gave another number. He goes, I still don't earn that. And I said, well, I know what you asked me what I want. You didn't ask me what I thought you could give me. I said, so what is it we're talking about?
Yeah.
And luckily, we had a good conversation through that. Yeah. You know? So it's that first standing in what you believe you bring to the table.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us sell ourselves short.
Yeah. And we have to think about the time away from the things that you love. The thing that you do at work is sacred time, huh? And so you have to think about, what is it worth to be away from, whether it's your children, your family, the things that you love to do on a daily basis. What is that worth to you?
Exactly.
And make sure you put a good number on it, because you do not want to begrudge anybody the time that you spend.
And that's the thing. That's what happens sometimes. Then people start going, but you did that.
Yeah. Nobody forced you. Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Totally.
Thank you. All right. As expected, Georgina, I hope that the next time I see you, it's not because the universe is like, oh my gosh, it's overdue. You guys have now run into each other again.
In the airport.
Exactly. Run into each other in the airport all of the time. And we're just like, could not be you again. But here we are. But anyway, thank you so much for a riveting conversation, and for being so authentic and honest and open, and letting people see the you that I see, and so delighted to spend any time with you at all. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of Getting to the Top with the absolutely extraordinary Georgina Terry. And I hope that if you're not subscribed, that you will subscribe, and certainly that you will share this episode with someone you think can benefit from Georgina's amazing journey. And thank you so much, and see you next time. Thanks. Bye.